the Mazz and Bads Show with Brandon Marrazzo and Charlie Baduini.
Off the juice.
Mazz, do you have any idea what today is?
Is it NFL preview day?
It's NFL preview day, but we're also...
Let's go!
Yeah, I think we lost the end of that there. Your microphone did us a favor and cut out the last of that. Oh!
I'm sorry, dude. That means we're a month away. I can't wait.
Actually, we are 23 days exactly away from...
I forgot about that Thursday game.
Chiefs-Ravens Thursday night kickoff. And Mazz, I personally cannot be more excited, and I know for a fact that you can also not wait.
I'm gonna be honest. I think I can wait just a little bit more. Dak's deal still hasn't got done.
Oh my
CD's deal still hasn't got done. Micah's deal hasn't got done. What the hell are we doing? What are we doing? I don't know, bro. But, honestly, dude, I can't wait for the football season. And what a game to kick off the season with. Are you kidding me?
I know. A rematch of the AFC Championship game from last year, which is going to be great. And also, spoiler alert, two of my top teams in the AFC, and the Ravens and the Chiefs. But we'll get to all that, Mazz. Since we're so close to NFL kickoff, we figured we would dedicate an entire episode to the preview of the upcoming 24-25 NFL season. And it's going to be a good one because there's a lot of teams, a lot of contenders, a lot of talented rosters, and also a lot of not talented rosters. There's going to be some basement dwellers. It happens every year, but we're going to be
the Chargers.
Possibly. Hey, no spoilers. Actually, I spoiled a little bit earlier, so whatever. But,
that was my spoiler. I'm not loving the Chargers this year.
I mean, me either, but we'll get to that momentarily. Regardless, I could not be more excited. I've done this just about every year since I think 2018 was the first year I did it. Just like a preseason website called Playoff Predictors, and it literally lets you go through the entire season, every game, every team schedule. You pick and choose winners and losers, and it spits out your division winners, your first who's going to have the first pick in the draft next year, yada, yada, yada. You get it. And that's where we're going to be taking you through division by division, breaking it down, telling you guys who I think is going to win, who I think is going to be in the middle, who's going to lose, and, of course, Mazz's as well. So
let's get it.
Mazz, you want to start on our favorite coast, the East Coast?
Absolutely, I want to start. And there's only one division that I want to start with, the one that everybody can't shut the hell up about. Give it to me, the AFC East.
AFC East this year is really interesting. The Bills have, I believe, won it for about 4 consecutive years, if I'm not mistaken. The last non-Bills winner was the Patriots in 19, and is looking to be a little shaken up this year. The Jets, healthy, made a lot of additions. Buffalo, as we said, a contender throughout these past few years, but they did take some hits in terms of roster this past spring. The Dolphins, in kind of the same boat, have been a very talented team, but lost some pieces. And the New England Patriots, who just picked 3rd overall in the draft and are looking to be heading into a bit of a reboot year.
And the 7th round pick is looking better than the third overall pick. What are we doing? I love it.
Joe Milton, with a few years of development, could be special, but that remains to be seen. Right now, it's the Drake May show over there. But regardless, Mazz, first things first, I'm just going to kick off and tell you how I think this division is going to shake out. Call it bias, ignore all the stuff on my walls, but I got the Jets winning the division at 12-5. I got the Bills and the Dolphins both at 10-7. That playoff tiebreaker, I'll let you know about that later. And then I got the Patriots in the basement of the division. In the basement of the league, I have them tied for the worst record at 3-14. So for the Patriots, the cupboard's bare. There is really not a whole lot going on there. Offensively, you got Ramondre Stevenson, and that's about your only weapon. On defense, you got a few guys on the defensive line, but that's it. They got nothing.
They are years still away from even coming close to completing this rebuild. They have no clue what they're doing. They've hit the reset button, right? Belichick's no longer there. They're trying to see, does this new regime have it? They hired within house with Gerard Mayo, right? And then they go and they draft Drake May. And then they draft Milton down in the 7th round, right? And he's outperforming in preseason. The best thing you got going is a running back who, let's be honest, is nowhere near a top 10 running back. I said what I said. Like, he's not going to be near a top 10 running back. He's a good pro. He's going to have a decent career. He's going to have some more left in him, right? But he ain't going to be nowhere near the Russian leaders. The offensive line is giant question marks. I couldn't even tell you. Their best guys, they traded away to Kansas City, right? So I have no clue what to, actually, no, I do. I have no clue when to expect the rebuild to come, but I know what to expect this year and probably the next year. And that is not a goddamn thing. I think you are right on the nose when it comes to the Patriots. I love the Bills. The Bills are special to my heart. They're my father's team. I think you're giving them way too much credit. I think they've taken a giant knockdown, especially I saw that Chase Claypool might be done for the season, right? So who is Josh Allen going to be thrown to besides the nice rookie that they just drafted who could be the next great one? I heard some great things about him, but let's be honest, there were guys in this draft that are way above him. So there's still, once again, nothing going with. Their best guys on defense all have major question marks regarding injury history. I think the Bills are taking a big step down. I think Miami leaps them, and I think the only thing that is stopping Miami from winning this division is whether or not Aaron Rodgers can stay healthy. This is a Jets division to win, barring health.
Yeah, I think regardless, if you were to look at the rosters in the AFC East, the Jets on paper have the best roster there. Even with Hassan Reddick currently holding out, who apparently requested a trade yesterday. Whatever, buddy, go kick rocks. This is the Jets division to lose. There's no question about that.
What happened with that, man? The Philly grants him the to go seek a trade, right? They get the trade to the Jets, and then the second he gets to the Jets, it's like, I want out. Like, he did nothing to want to be there. I don't understand what is happening with that.
He according to reports, he totally flipped the switch. When he was traded to the Jets, obviously the Jets were permitted to talk to his representation before the trade, thanks to the Eagles. They said, you can have those conversations. And apparently they agreed on, hey, we know you're entering the last year of your contract, but we're willing to work with you if you come to camp, you come to OTAs, you come to all the non-mandatory stuff. We can work out maybe switching some of those incentives into guaranteed money or signing bonuses. And the Jets refuse to negotiate with a guy who hasn't even shown up yet. There's a lot of veterans in that locker room who are playing on the last year of their contract who have done a hell of a lot more for the Jets than Hassan Reddick has ever done. DJ Reed has been a fantastic corner for the Jets these last 2 years, entering the last year of his deal. He wanted an extension. Michael Carter II, the nickel cornerback. He is playing out his rookie contract, making pennies because he was a fourth-round pick, entering the last year of his deal. You don't see him holding out and complaining that he hasn't gotten his money yet. Hassan Reddick is only hurting himself with this holdout because he is entering free agency after this season, right? If he chooses to continue to sit out and he says, I'm not going to play for the Jets this year, okay, you're just playing for the Jets next year because if you sit out, your contract will toll and you will still be with the team next year. You'll be a year older and you won't be able to hit the open market. His best move here, if he still seriously wants to get another long-term contract because he is in the twilight of his career, it's to show up, be a good teammate, and produce, and you'll get that contract next spring. Probably not with the Jets at this point. I mean, he never really fit the timeline to begin with in terms of age, but there's no way the Jets give him a long-term deal at this point.
I just think of a guy like Jadeveon Clowney, right? Where like I feel like Jadeveon Clowney hasn't played on like a legitimate like multi-year deal. I'm talking anything getting past really 2 years in quite some time, and he's just become a defense merchant where it's like, hey, who's gonna pay me? I still want to play this game. Like, I don't care what the year is. Pay me what I'm worth right this season. I'm gonna come produce. I'm gonna make sure I get that contract for the next year. And unlike Clowney, this is a unique situation where you are a Super Bowl contender. The Jets should be top 3 on everybody's list when it comes to winning the AFC. I can see Baltimore, and of course you can never count out Kansas City. But other than really them, who else do you have in the AFC that's going to be able to topple the Jets if they're healthy? Really nobody, So especially in a unique situation where we're going all the way and we're not just talking about it. This isn't just some false fairy tale like the Cowboys are living in. They are literally dead set to make a run right this second. How do you not just show up and just try to get that ring? How do you not do like it? Dude, everybody knows you win, right? You get contracts. Somebody will overpay you if you guys get the job done because Rosters are poached year in and year out from the Super Bowl winner, from people who are like, oh, that guy was a part of the success. He could definitely come here and take us to that next level, maybe. It's just bad business sense by my end, to be honest with you. But hey, the man's at his wit's end, I guess. He feels this is what he has to do, and he's going to suffer the consequences, whatever they may be.
It's currently hundreds of thousands of dollars, and even more so if he ends up skipping games, if it really does come to that. I really don't think it does. I think the trade request was literally the last card he could play, because the Jets hold all the leverage. Like I said, they don't have to do anything with him. If he wants to sit out because the Jets won't oblige his contract requests, he's the one losing out. He will lose a season. His contract will toll, and he will just be in the same spot again next year, but a year older. And that's not good if you're trying to earn another long-term contract in the NFL.
If you're the Jets, though, do you not even consider trading him at all?
I would say no, because there's no way you're getting the assets you gave up back. They traded a conditional third-round pick for him. There's no way you're getting even that back at this point, especially with how he's handled himself throughout the whole summer.
It just sounds like he's never going to be on the field for it. I just feel like you might want to consider just gaining something back in a failed experiment. That was not your fault whatsoever. Like, you kept it 100 with him the entire way through. He may see it a different way, but like, hey, we've been seeing the exact same reports. There's nothing really that's been conflicting, so like, I'm going to go ahead and say that this is on Mr. Reddick, and the fact that he thought that he was going to be able to play the situation a little better, and it didn't go exactly how he planned. So it is what it is. But how bad, on a side note here, just sticking in division, how mad do you have to be if you're the Miami Dolphins owners, organization, everything? I mean, you've done just about everything you could think of, and you still, at best, keep on ending up in second place in this division. Even when the Bills take a step back, and this could finally be your year, the Jets go out and get Aaron Rodgers. The Jets go out and get some pieces to protect Aaron Rodgers. The Jets get better and are now the favorites above you when you have arguably the best wide receiver in the NFL. I don't think he is. I think he's top 3. But nonetheless, right, a game-changing weapon, a guy who's probably going to break all the receiving records this year just because you love airing it out and he beats everybody in that deep ball. It's just every time Miami looks good, they just can't get over the hump, buddy. And I thought that they were going to be a lot better than they were last year. I still think they're going to be better, but losing Shaq Barrett now, that's going to hurt on defense, and a defense that was already hurting, and they're still a clear-cut second favorite, and I got to be frustrated if I'm anybody with Miami.
Yeah, I see Buffalo and Miami on the same sense. I have both of them finishing with 10 wins. The issue I've seen with the Dolphins the last few years, and they have been a very talented team, one of the best offenses in football, for 100% for sure. When it comes to their avenue of team building, especially over the last few seasons, it was a lot of big splashes and big spending on older guys, which has definitely worked out. Tyreek Hill absolutely worked out. Jalen Ramsey, he was good last year when he was healthy. Teron Armstead was a solid left tackle last year. They never had the bones of a contending championship team. They only bought and added to it. Where take a team with the Jets, where they went out and they got Aaron Rodgers. They went out and they got Tyron Smith, Mike Williams, so a few of the splashes they made last spring when Rodgers first came. But they had the foundation in place. They had Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, Jermaine Johnson, these building blocks on offense and defense, these guys that you drafted, homegrown, and have instilled a culture in the franchise. I think that's what's really going to help the Jets this year, barring health. And I cannot say that enough, barring health.
Yeah. No, I'm absolutely with you, man. Jets division to win for sure. Can't count out Miami entirely, but going back to that Bills, dude, I really think they're going to be taking a step back. Like, there's Josh Allen, even at its peak with Gabe Davis and Stephon Diggs, we were talking about, there was nothing really to work with. Now there is really nothing but a rookie receiver to work with. I still don't like their running back. It's probably going to be Cook again, right? So, he's all right, but again, I feel like he is cut from that same Tony Pollard cloth, where if you don't have a guy that can, the places where he doesn't excel, that short yardage, that power game. Like if you don't have somebody, although they did just bring in Frank Gore Jr. undrafted, maybe that could help. I just don't see him being a top running back in the league like that. He's not going to be touching even what Saquon Barkley is going to be doing with Philadelphia this year, and that's not even going to be the pinnacle of running. It's not sniffing Derrick Henry with Baltimore this year, So it is honestly, want them to do well. I want to see Josh Allen do well for my father's sake, but I think they have missed the window. I think they mismanaged the window when they had it, and I think we are starting to see the fall of the Buffalo Bills.
For sure. But I'm never going to count out Josh Allen. He's still one of the best quarterbacks in the game. And I think he's still talented enough in himself to get the Bills to double-digit wins. And the team definitely lost some of its premier talent in terms of age and also, just some players that departed in free agency. But I still think there's a long-term culture in standing there. And say what you want about Sean McDermott. He's been there, almost 7 or 8 years now. He's instilled a solid football program, if you want to call it, in Buffalo. I don't think they'll fall off a cliff, but you're right. Gradual decline sounds kind of likely from where they started.
I blame management, man. Like how many times did they have a chance to go out and either trade for or sign a big running back free agent where like the running game was kind of taking a hit for years? Like they had really good pieces on defense. I mean, if you honestly look at like defense, at one point they had a top 5 guy, it felt like almost at every position. Maybe not the pinnacle guy, but a guy that really is making a difference that they've built up having in there. Poyer no longer there, but was fantastic when he was. Matt Milano, a top linebacker in the league. Maybe not Roquan Smith, but still really good. Even DeMar Hamlin was really good and it's supposed to be their cornerback, right? Cornerback number
Safety.
1. Safety, thank you. It's supposed to be their safety number 1, right? And he was good even before that scary condition happened, So they had, like, we've seen their defense slowly get chipped away at. We've seen them miss out on bringing in a Derrick Henry, trading for a CMC, things that were in talks. And it was just the ownership, the GM, the front office felt like, to me, they just were afraid of going all in for whatever reason. Like, it's like, yes, we want to compete. Yes, we're right there. But for whatever reason, they just did not hit that button that Miami seems to be so frequent to hit, and that's what they needed. And now I'm afraid, like, yeah, they're gonna stumble back. I'm not saying that they're gonna be the Patriots, right, where it's just they're only gonna be getting 3 wins. I'm saying I think they missed their championship window unless they legitimately go out and get some talent in the upcoming years. It's not gonna be this year, that's for sure.
Yeah, I agree. So AFC East, it's still going to be a heck of a division with those 3 teams, the Jets, Bills, and Dolphins battling it out. Can't wait to see how that breaks down. But what do you say we head westwards to one of the best divisions in football, the AFC North?
Yeah, I like it. One of the best, not the best. I'll say that multiple times. I feel like NFC East, AFC East, NFC North, I just feel like are normally like the most competitive divisions every time.
I like to throw the NFC West in there as well.
Sure. But there's kind of been a stranglehold on that in recent years, right?
Yeah, that's fair. But, the Seahawks are always kind of scrapping around, and the Rams and the Niners both just been contending since, the past, I don't know.
The Rams did
years.
just win a Super Bowl not too long ago,
Correct.
So yeah, you're right. But man, I'm telling you, there's only one team for me right now in this division, and we're just gonna start with the crown jewel. Call me Captain Obvious. The Ravens should be on everybody's list for Super Bowl contenders. I think the odds for them to win the Super Bowl will probably be the worst that we might have ever seen, because they've basically kept everyone, barring a coordinator here or there, going. But, for the main players are still there. They've only gotten, they lost Patrick Queen over to Pittsburgh, right? But Derrick Henry is going to take the best rushing game per team in the NFL and take it to an even higher level. I mean, dude, they were putting up numbers with Gus the Bus, for crying out loud. Imagine now putting King Henry in there with Lamar Jackson, I mean, it is absolutely insane. And we criticize the passing game all the time. The passing game was good enough to make it to the AFC Championship game, right? So it is a scary team. It is ridiculous what one addition can do for you. I think, dare I say, spoiler alert here, I think they're going all the way, dude.
Definitely not an unreasonable take, because the Ravens might have the best roster in football from top to bottom. The addition of Derrick Henry is going to be huge for the offense. It's going to bring another dimension to it, even though it was already one of the best in football last year. Year 2 of the Todd Monken system, the Todd Monken-Lamar partnership seems to be fruitful, and I think that's only going to get better with another season, under their belt. I know they lost the defensive coordinator McDonald, but I just feel like everything they made up for on offense, that they lost on defense, they made up for on offense. And the defense still has elite players littered all over the place.
This is you talk about just a team's identity. The Ravens have been known for defense. Even before I was alive, I feel like there's never been a time, even in the Ravens' worst years, where it was the defense's fault for them being as bad. One thing that is always for sure, the sun is going to rise in the East, and the Ravens are going to have a good defense every single time.
Yeah, so it's no secret that we both obviously have them finishing at the top of the division. I have them at 13-4. And then I have the Bengals in second at 11-6, the Browns in third at 10-7, and Mike Tomlin squeezing out another winning season at 9-8.
I want you to flip some things for me.
What you got?
I think the Bengals aren't the clear second here. I think the Browns are probably going to pull that off, and I think Pittsburgh's going to surprise a lot of people this year. I mean, saw what they did with Kenny Pickett, right? Being able to get to 10 wins. Russell Wilson is a far better quarterback. If they can get this deal done for Ayuk, I think that absolutely flips the script for them. Not saying that they're going to be the best offense if they acquire that, but I think from years past, from what they've seen, I mean, it is going to be looking pretty good in Pittsburgh. If they get this Ayuk deal done, I could see them coming as high as even second in the division, right? Because I think the offense is just going to be that much different with those two players being there. That being said, though, the Browns defense is still absolutely ridiculous. I'm interested to see how Nick Chubb bounces back. He's a freak of nature, so I think he's going to be just fine. Deshaun Watson still needs to live up to the contract, so, But on the other side, I don't love the Bengals defense. Joe Burrow, who I love, right? Even though I think he is a little overrated at times, just where people put him. He is locked in, so that's good seeing, but I don't know, man. I think Cleveland's going to do enough to come in second there unless Joe really bounces back. But he looks locked in. But if I'm going to play into injury history, when we talk about the Jets, when we talk about Nick Chubb with that recent freak thing, he does not have a great injury history.
That's correct. Yep.
So it's worse than Aaron Rodgers, right? And I'm only more concerned about Aaron Rodgers strictly because of age. But you want to talk about history, Burrow it's a scary injury history, So barring health, of course, I can see why you have them second, but I definitely think that they are the third, dare even fourth team in this division if Pittsburgh makes some moves.
So I definitely disagree with you there, them being potentially the fourth worst. As for Pittsburgh, you're right. Russell Wilson is absolutely an upgrade over Kenny Pickett. They did make some adjustments to the offensive line, but as much as I have faith in Mike Tomlin, I have no faith in Arthur Smith as the offensive coordinator. He completely mismanaged and bungled that Atlanta Falcons situation for every year he was the head coach. Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson, Drake London. He didn't put these guys in positions where their talents could be used to the best of their ability. And I see no reason why that will change in Pittsburgh. I can only imagine just the amount, the level of headbutting that's going to happen between a guy like Arthur Smith and George Pickens. I really don't think it's going to work all that well. Although, out of respect for Mike Tomlin, that's why I have them still finishing with a winning record out of the playoffs.
Well, let's not forget too, right? I also said barring if they make the acquisition for IU, because that changes things, right? This is the best quarterback situation that he's seen in quite some time because there was absolutely no one throwing the ball down in Atlanta, even in their best years under him, right? So he already has the best quarterback that he's going to be working with, right? Like I said, they need another receiver. Ayuk's the one to go get. I don't want to keep on beating the drum. However, let's look at the defensive side of the ball, right? Cincinnati definitely has the worst in the division. TJ Watt might be the best guy on defense in the entire league, right? That's in a division with Myles Garrett. That's with a Michael Parsons being out there. The kid is absolutely ridiculous, and every time he plays for Pittsburgh, they have a chance of winning. Cincinnati's run game is going down this year as well. Who do they bring in to replace Joe Mixon? An underrated guy, a guy that never got the flowers that he truly deserved, but was definitely a big part of opening up that passing game with two great wide receivers. So it's on Pittsburgh to knock Cincinnati down there, but I do think the Browns have enough to jump them.
I think the Browns have enough too, especially on defense. That they're going to be one of the better defensive teams in football this year. It's just you're right. I'm really concerned about Deshaun Watson. I was a big believer in the Browns last year. I thought they were going to win this division, and I'm not saying they're gonna fall off completely, but I'm tempering my expectations. I have them as the last wild card spot in the AFC. I think the roster is good enough in itself where they're going to be able to consistently win games. Kevin Stefanski is a great coach, but I just got questions about the offense, and that's why I have him in third. And then as for the Bengals, you're right. Joe Burrow's injury history is scary, but when he's healthy, and for all of these teams, I assumed health. The Bengals are a terrifying team when they're clicking, when they're locked in and healthy. Joe Burrow to Jamar Chase is one of the best connections in football. This is T. Higgins' last season in Cincinnati. He's playing on that franchise tag, and it's not looking likely he comes back. He's gonna be looking to have a career year to try and get that long-term contract next spring. I think the Bengals are set for a great season. Obviously, I have them in second because I just think Baltimore is just the cream of the crop and that much just a little bit above everybody else. I still think Cincy, when they're healthy, when they're locked in, you don't want to see them in the playoffs. That's for damn sure.
I love how it's like we are a half cup full, half empty kind of guys here. Like I appreciate you looking at things with, forget about like the injury because you're thinking about what these guys at their best could do. However, this is the most violent sport in North America, right? When it comes to the Big Four, I should say. Guys get injured left and right, whether it's due to a crap field like MetLife situation, whether it's just due to wear and tear and medical history like the Bengals situation, whether it's just due to freak accidents, the Cleveland Browns situation. There is always going to be injury every time, especially when you're seeing guys take less and less hits in preseason. You saw Dan Campbell talk about it in that what's called the Hard Knocks, where it was like, guys, I gotta get your bodies ready. There's science proven to this. I know you don't want to do it, but I'm doing the best for you. Why? Because there's nothing you can do to prepare yourself from taking 1,000 hits a season. Then just get the hits out already. You gotta try and get 500 hits to 2,000 hits in practice before you get to those games. So I just cannot. I don't want to be the Debbie Downer and always, Mazz is always bringing up this guy and it's unlikely that he's going to come back. No, I'm just being 100 with you. This is the facts, and this is a hard sport, man. I've played at a way worse level for 13 years, and it's took a toll on my body that is nowhere near the tempos that those guys are rocking with, all right? So, like, it just is what it is. So I always have to factor that in. I don't want to be the guy. It's just, it's a fact of life when it comes to this game.
Moving southbound to one of the worst divisions in football as opposed to the AFC North, the AFC South. I got the Texans winning the division as the lone playoff team at 10-7, the Jags at 8-9, Colts at 7-10, and the Titans at 6-11.
It is absolutely ridiculous how the Jags had me as like the biggest fan that wasn't actually like a supporting fan, and I've just lost all faith. There's nothing that this team can do for me to get back on the bandwagon at this point. They had the wide receiver. They've had everything that's going good, right? They've had a decent tight end. They have a good running back. They have what's supposed to be the best quarterback in the league since Andrew Luck, right? In terms of prospect. And just they even brought in Doug Peterson, guy who won a Super Bowl, right? And with a way worse quarterback, might I add you, shout out Nick Folk, who just retired, going to be retired in Eagles. So shout out to him. But dude, it's just every time. And then I'm the biggest Urban Meyer fan up until he came to the NFL, right? Like I loved the Florida Gators when I was a kid, right? Granted, I don't love them as much in hindsight, but there was guys on that team. They were the funnest team. And then even when he was with Zeke over at Ohio State, it was like, yo, Urban Meyer does his thing. I've been saying that I thought that you're going to crucify me for this. I thought Urban Meyer was the better coach out of him and Nick Saban for years. Now, Saban's the GOAT. I just had a preference. All right. And then he came up to the big leagues and just he coached like a degenerate. Let's be honest. He was coaching like he was going still with college
Ohio
kids
State,
at a different time. In 2008, those tactics got you a championship. Up at the NFL, these are grown men. It ain't working, buddy. All right, and let's be honest, some of them were unethical too. So like, but back to the Jags, right? I just have no faith in them. I wouldn't even be surprised if the Colts end up the second best in this division because they have a quarterback I still believe is going to be the best out of his draft class. And CJ Stroud has been absolutely insane. And the only reason why I think CJ Stroud has been absolutely better is because Houston has become, before our very eyes, a competent organization. This is the window. We built the foundation. We finally figured out how to rebuild a damn team. We have a head coach who gets the best out of players, and he was fantastic as a coordinator, and we gave him the shot, and he's risen to the occasion each and every damn time. And then guess what? Our rookie quarterback, we're going to go out and get you, who might be a headache, who Sean McDermott might have even said, I like the situation of our wide receiver room because it's just less selfish than it was, right? They go out and they bring in Stephon Diggs. They are competing for titles right now. They even went out and got a good tight end who looked good in Dallas. Just like, yeah, let's just bring him over right the year before just to make sure that we have all our boxes checked. 2 stud wide receivers that were really young and up and coming, right? And Nico Collins and Tank Dell. Let's go add in the grizzled vet who can be a top 5 wide receiver in the damn league. We have our guy in CJ Stroud. Everything is coming together for the Texans. And on top of all of it, let's go bring in Joe Mixon just to make sure we have a damn good running game on top of everything. Because we are building everywhere. I am in love with the Texans. I am in love with what they're doing. And I wish it was the other team in Dallas that would be this competent.
Yeah, the Texans are the sexy team in the NFL right now. There is no question about that. CJ Stroud is an exciting player to watch. Definitely one of those up-and-coming quarterbacks who is going to be around for a long time, a face of the league for a long time. Made all the right moves, like you said, Mazz. Just knew exactly when, hey, we made it to the playoffs last year. We won a playoff game. We lost in Baltimore. A lot of teams would have lost in Baltimore. We're cashing in now. We're trading these assets we have left over. We're going to go get these guys. We're going to go get a Danielle Hunter on defense to rush the passer. It's the Texans are going to be a scary team this year. I need to see it with my own eyes before I can say they're going to be a playoff contender. You know what I mean? I need to see a little bit more, but you're right. I love D'Amico Ryans. I love all the moves they've made as an organization. Just got to see it first. But I still have them absolutely being the cream of the crop in that division. Jaguars, I'm with you. They've been nothing but a disappointment since they won that playoff game 2 years ago. Last year was supposed to be the year. Last year was supposed to be this year for the Texans, for the Jags, if that makes any sense. They acquired a couple new guys. They cashed in on a few things on defense, and it just didn't work. They started great, started hot, and they ran out of steam. And I was a big Dougie P fan, Doug Peterson. I was a huge fan of him after he won that Super Bowl. Just all those play calls he made, the cojones, you know what I mean? But I've just lost a lot of faith with him. Last year, what happened with the Jaguars, that collapse, how can you not attribute that to the head coach? You know what I mean? So Doug Peterson, I think this is going to be his last year in Jacksonville. That experiment's going to end. And I worry about Trevor Lawrence. The talent is there. I really do believe that. I just think he hasn't had the right mind in his ear. I think he might need somebody a little more. I don't when I think about Jaguars games when I'm watching them last year, and I'm watching Lawrence, he just looks too mechanical, too robotic. I think he needs to, and I know he can because he did it at Clemson for 2-3 years. I want to see more off script stuff from him. I want to see him rolling out of the pocket and slinging one downfield. It just feels like he's really always trying to stay within the confines of the offense. I think he needs to open up a little more, take some more risks, and we might end up seeing Lawrence bloom a little bit. But the Will Levis take, man, that you think he's going to end up the best quarterback in the draft class? Is that what you said, or did I hear that wrong?
No, not Will Levis.
Stroud.
No. Oh my God, the Colts. Richardson. Yeah. Dude, that is alien talent.
Yeah.
You know, he can be mobile. I'm not saying he's Mike Vick or Lamar Jackson, but he can move, right?
More of a Cam Newton.
Yeah, definitely. I think he's, people are gonna hate me for this. I think he's got a bigger cannon than Cam.
More accurate,
I think,
too.
Yeah, like he's just seems like the better passer. Now, Cam, I do believe, is the better in-game guy. There's guys that they just, in terms of improvising, Cam is up there with the best when he was at his peak. He needs to develop that if he wants. Anthony Richardson needs to develop that kind of trait to take his game to the next level for me, right? And the Colts need to do everything possible to keep this guy protected, because I think you hit on one. I think he felt you in the draft. You should say thank you. This is the crown jewel, and we need to give it, just like the Texans gave C.J. Stroud, everything possible to succeed. And it starts with protection, because he already went down last season, right? So we don't want to see that being a reoccurring thing, but just throw for a throw. I don't want to take anything away from C.J. Stroud, but they've already said C.J. Stroud was definitely looking like the best NFL ready and came into the best situation out of the three of them, including Young over with the Carolina Panthers, right? So, but in terms of just mechanics and talent and ceiling, yeah, I think Richardson could be the next face of the NFL, barring that he develops and stays healthy. Getting to Will Levis, though, I will say, I would not be surprised if, like I said, if the Colts jump Jacksonville. I wouldn't be surprised if Tennessee jumps the Colts. I think Will Levis had a pretty damn good season last year, all things considered, what he was working with. They brought in Tony Pollard. Granted, they lost Derrick Henry, so that is going to be a worse situation running wise. However, it's not the biggest jump off the cliff where you're just starting fresh with somebody that you know nothing about. Pollard has his uses. I think you have to use him more as a scat back. You have to get him involved in that passing game. And I think Tennessee, I still do not like the firing of Vrabel, right?
Either.
And I still don't know how that guy, honestly, put him as the next candidate for Jacksonville as head coach, honestly. I wouldn't even be surprised if he end up in New England somehow. I know the connection's there. We'll see what Mayo brings.
I would be very upset about that.
Yeah, I know you would. But to be fair, right? I just think that Tennessee has finally, not because of Vrabel, right? Like him being gone. I just think finally the organization as an identity where we've hit the reset. We are now building back up, because for years they were just sitting there in purgatory of, we think we can compete, but we're nowhere near the top of the NFL, and we could hit the reset button, but we have such great things that we just don't want to get rid of. And you should have got rid of it before it walked away, because guess what? It walked away and you got nothing for it. This is what happens when we fall in love with things that used to be. You saw where it got you. You got to know when to let things go, like a Derrick Henry, right? You got to know when to bring in a new quarterback through the draft. Will Levis could be pretty solid. I think he could be top 15 in the NFL, right? He could potentially as high.
He showed flashes last year. He for sure did.
I think he could be a bottom 10, top 10 in, 5-6 years from now down the line. I don't think he showed me anything to anywhere to put me towards the upper echelon of the NFL yet, but I'm not saying that it can't come. I have no clue. I have to see it is what I'm saying. I just know that Richardson and CJ Stroud are definitely looking way much better, and I could definitely say that CJ Stroud in that division will be a top 10 quarterback in the NFL, because he's already knocking on the damn door, So I think Tennessee is going in the right direction. I'm not expecting much, but I would not be surprised if they did jump the Colts But like I said, the Colts could jump Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Nobody's jumping Houston this year. I'm sorry.
The only reason why I have the Colts and the Titans behind the Jaguars, and I agree with you, it could, those three teams, you could rearrange them in any fashion, and I would totally be like, okay, I get that, because they're all in a somewhat similar spot. I have the Jags ahead of the two just because of the continuity with Lawrence, Peterson. That whole team's been together for a few years now. As for the Colts, I have them behind the Jags because this is going to be Anthony Richardson's redshirt freshman season somewhat. He only played like 2.5, 3 games last year, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. So I'm not expecting him to be elite out of the gate coming into September, but I think he's going to take some lumps as a rookie quarterback. You know what I mean? And then as for the Titans, new head coach and Brian Callahan, like you said, they fired Vrabel for God knows whatever reason. Although I am still I'm a fan of Brian Callahan. I think he did a lot of great work in Cincinnati. And he's got the pedigree. His father is one of the best offensive line coaches in football, and he brought him with him to the Titans. I just think first year with Callahan and Levis, a lot of new pieces, a lot of fresh faces. They're going in a younger direction. I think they'll be a young and scrappy team that gets 6 wins, but they fight for all 6 of those wins.
Yeah, I think your order is definitely how it should be. I just would not be surprised if the jumps that I laid out there happen. And I know that could be like a caveat, but I think that the lower 3 teams of the division, it could legitimately be a carousel of fighting for that second spot. I don't have faith in the Jaguars, and I could see bright spots in the other 2. But yeah, I think Jacksonville is definitely the second best if we're talking about right this second. I have no problem with your order. I just think that is going to be a fun division to watch out for, to see who comes in second place.
So heading westward bound to our last division in the AFC. The Kansas City Chiefs division, the AFC West, because as we know, they have owned that division for damn near a decade now. I don't think they've lost it. And I think the last winner was the Broncos when they won the Super Bowl, or when they won the Super Bowl, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Peyton Manning's last year. Correct.
The Sheriff, which is the greatest name ever given to somebody in the twilight of their career. I don't know where the hell that name came from. I will forever be referring to Peyton Manning as the Sheriff, even though he was not the Sheriff my entire childhood. He, you could have called him the Brain, honestly, but the Sheriff it is. The last ride. Hoorah. I loved it.
So no Peyton Manning in the division this year, so it's going to be another easy path for the Chiefs. I got them at 13-4, winning the division. And the rest of the division relatively in the basement. I got the Raiders at 6-11 and the Broncos and Chargers both at 5-12 apiece.
I don't think you're wrong here. I think just the Raiders defense, and of course having Devontae Adams always is going to help. The running game's going to take a hit. No more Josh Jacobs, right? But let's be honest, the offensive line was horrendous, and their quarterback situation is horrendous, right? But the defense is just that much better. Max Crosby leading them boys. I think you have everybody in the right spot. I think Denver is very much in a Tennessee looking kind of spot where, hey, we have what we think could be the future. We have some decent pieces, but we're nowhere looking at competing right now. We're looking to build and get better. And then here comes to the crown jewel of that same situation. Formerly San Diego, now Los Angeles, although I wish
you caught yourself. You caught yourself.
The
you
Chargers. I did. They were, dude, it was my entire childhood. They were the San Diego Chargers, like, come on. Anyway, they have the best quarterback out of those 3 situations that we were talking about.
For sure.
Throw in Jacksonville there too. They still have the best quarterback, right? You look at this kid's numbers from years past, off the damn chart. However, who's he throwing to? What is the defense going to do? That defense was on paper, people said the number 1 defense last year. Injuries, nothing happened, right? They still have good things, but they're not an elite defense. I'm sorry. They're just not, right? Head coach finally got shipped out. They brought in the best available that wasn't Bill Belichick, right? Go back down to college, a guy who's gotten the 49ers to the Super Bowl, even though they didn't get the job done, but the guy who has developed Colin Kaepernick, right? Frank Gore had some great seasons under him, right? This is a guy who gets football, understands football, saw him go down.
Knows how to build a program.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, went down to college, revitalized Michigan, and then dipped back on out, coming up here. I think they're going to be fine for the future. However, this is probably going to be one of the worst years we see of Herbert. This is going to be a bad year for the Chargers. They're not going to do anything. There's nothing that sticks off the paper for me outside of him. You lost Austin Eckler. You lost Keenan Allen, right? What are you going to do now that those pieces are gone? And I'm pretty sure the Jets snagged a guy too, right?
Mike Williams.
Thank you. All right. So your first and second best receiver and your top running back are gone, right? You already had a bad offensive line, which looks to have gotten much better through the draft. So good for them. Hopefully that pans out. You drafted some pieces, but those pieces I don't think are reaching the heights of what you had. And if it does, it's going to be through scheming, right? So head coach is in place, but the Chargers are going to struggle this year, my friend.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%, and I think they're set up to steadily improve over the next few years for sure, because they have Justin Herbert, who is a franchise quarterback, Jim Harbaugh, who is a good football coach, and I'm sure he'll reprove that at the pro level this year. I just, like you said, Mazz, the cupboard is bare. Quentin Johnston's your wide receiver one. Their running back rooms is a stable of used Baltimore guys. They have J.K. Dobbins and Gus the Bus. And then defense.
Injury history off the chart.
And then on defense, sure, the names at the top look great. You still have Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, and Derwin James. But behind those guys, you have nothing. Nothing.
Bosa's not even the best guy in his family right now. Khalil Mack hasn't done nothing in years, I felt like. Like those guys, they're big names, but they're big names who, were probably a lot bigger 3 years ago.
Correct. As for Denver, yeah, this year was supposed to be last year for them, and they just decided to wipe the slate clean again because of how bad things ended last year with Russell Wilson and that whole messy divorce. But this is going to be Sean Payton's first year with Bo Nix, and we'll see how that marriage ends up. Could be fruitful. Bo Nix is a very mechanical guy. It seems to be a good fit for a coach like Payton.
When are we going to see him? Because Jared Stidham apparently is QB1.
Don't put any stock into preseason depth charts. It's all smoke screens, and no one wants to announce who's actually going to be starting, especially if there's like question marks like that, especially at quarterback. But yeah,
I don't even know what to do because Bo Nix is old for a rookie. So you don't want to waste any more time.
Yeah, no, I think
But I think you also want to get a better situation for him to come into instead of just getting thrown to the wolves. I don't even know what to do. I think I'm of the proponent of Wilson, Stidham, whoever you're more comfortable with. Get your butt out there for the first 5 to 6 games, and then Bo, you can come off the bench and you'll finish it out. I just got to know that I can trust everywhere else before I let this guy go out there and take the hits. I have those other 2 guys for that reason, So I don't know, but I do know Sean Payton's going to be just fine. I did not love how the Russell Wilson situation ended up, right? They looked like
messy.
The villains.
It was messy.
It was awful. It was absolutely horrible how they treated that guy, especially when he did nothing but try to help you compete, right? It's just what you set up was not the ideal situation. They had a pretty good season with Wilson last year, but they knew damn well that they wanted to hit the reset button, and they should have done it before instead of sitting there and pulling his leg and, oh, maybe we want you, maybe we don't, this and that. But Sean Payton's definitely the guy for them moving forward. They're going to be fine. Providing that they keep on moving in the same direction. I'm very excited to see Bo Nix at this next level because he was Mr. Efficiency down in college football.
As for the Raiders, this might be a hot take, but I don't think they should have kept Antonio Pierce on as head coach. I understand what he was able to do for the team last year after the whole McDaniels thing ended in a house fire, if you want to call it that, because
they burned it to the ground
because it was a house fire. It was everybody out of the house. So he was able to come in and salvage that situation. They made a push for a wild card spot. They even beat the Chiefs for the first time in 6 years in December. But to me, I'm not saying Pierce isn't a good coach, but we're talking about a guy who was a linebackers coach before he got this head coaching gig. We're talking about a guy who was an assistant coach at Arizona State before he got that job with the Raiders. Just the pedigree is not there for me, and I'm not 100% sold on him being the long-term coach for this franchise. especially when there were so many names out there available that they could have had a chance at. I get not going after Belichick because you just tried the whole Patriots 2.0 thing with McDaniels and Ziegler, but Mike Vrabel? You're telling me you wouldn't want Mike Vrabel over Antonio Pierce?
Hold on, right? Did Mike Vrabel really give Tennessee a better situation? I don't know. Tennessee didn't think he was good enough, right? And he had better pieces in Tennessee than what they're working with the Raiders, right? In terms of currently right this second, Josh Jacobs no longer there. He had Derrick Henry, and they couldn't get over the hump, right? He had a better quarterback than what they're walking into right now with the Raiders. I wouldn't say that that's necessarily better. I hear you. Vrabel has talent, but you look over at the other side. The man's been there. The man survived everything else getting fumigated. The players rallied around him. There hasn't been a bad thing said about him come from a player standpoint. Sometimes guys just get opportunities and make the best of it. I think he did that. I don't think you can expect anything big from the Raiders because the GM has no clue what they're doing right now when it comes with their quarterback situation. When it comes with, is their star wide receiver going to be their star running back is already out the door and you did not replace it, right? So I cannot blame a head coach in this situation. This entire franchise has been incompetent for quite some time, right? Even when they had Derek Carr, it felt like they were incompetent, you know? So I actually think that Pierce is the right move. I think this is a guy who knows how to operate in the chaos, knows how to get the best out of absolutely not much, you know? Max Crosby has risen under him last year. Right now, Max Crosby's been on the steady incline, but really took a jump last year, you know? So I think when it comes down to it, I think just having a coach carousel is not the best thing to do. This guy looks like it could be it. Let's give it a shot because guess what? The worst thing that happens in 2 to 3 years, we go bring in a guy that's on the market because there's always going to be somebody on the market. This is not a head coach problem. This is not Jacksonville. This is an organization problem, my friend. The Raiders need to be better. They've needed to be better. And it's not going to change by constantly switching a head coach because there's no foundation. This guy is quite literally building a foundation for how the franchise should conduct themselves. The stipulations. We're not talking about building a foundation through the draft and but we're talking about how to act as professionals. And he's doing that.
All right, I can't argue with that because you're right. They do need some sort of consistency because it's just been a revolving door for the Raiders ever since. I mean, when was the last time they? I don't know, for the last 20 years, you know, like it really, it's
they won a Super Bowl under John Gruden was the last time that they were competent, right?
Yeah.
Wait, did he? No, with the Raiders,
they lost to Gruden and the Bucks the year after they fired him, or I guess it was like they traded him to the Bucks. I don't know. It was a whole thing.
Oh boy.
But we're not here for a history lesson. We're here for a present lesson. And the Kansas City Chiefs have somehow even improved the roster even more, looking for a three-peat, their third straight Super Bowl victory. Only added to the receiver room with Hollywood Brown and I believe, I always mix him up. I think it's Xavier Worthy, who's now a Chief.
I believe you're right.
All right, cool. I always mix him up with another guy who got drafted. But regardless, they've only added and they only lost L'Jarius Sneed at corner. Everything else is just the same. So it's just no question to me that these guys are going to win the division and be right there neck and neck with Baltimore for the number 1 seed in the AFC when it's all said and done.
So coming back with it, Chucky, you were absolutely right. I messed up my history lesson. He was fired. I knew he was fired. I thought he won like previous years with it before Gruden took over with Tampa Bay. But coming back with Kansas City, I'm sorry to go back down that. I'm a schmuck. But winning breeds confidence. It breeds, I will take that pay cut because I'm enjoying winning so much. I love those bonus checks that keep on coming. I love that I'm adding to my ring hand, right? It starts with the ring finger and then it just keeps on coming. This is the Kansas City Chiefs. You want to talk about sex appeal. They were the ugliest looking team and were getting laid left and right last year. All right? I'm sorry. Dude, there is nothing that I loved last year about that receiving core outside of Travis Kelce, right? There was nothing that I loved going on with their secondary defense. And they said, man, shut the hell up because we really do this. All right. Defensive tackle, nowhere to be found. He steps back onto the scene and he's wreaking havoc left and freaking right. Right. And I just don't understand how each year, even in the down year, they're winning championships. It makes no sense. I have never, ever been more envious of a team in my damn life. If teams had the roster that they had last year, they'd be in the last of the damn division. A division that had nothing else going for it. And they're out here winning the entire damn thing. It's not fair. I don't know what they're doing. I think they're praying to some dark gods over there because this is bullshit. But honestly, kudos to them. Andy Reid is the best coach in the NFL. I don't understand. They're going to do it again, right? When I said that the Ravens were going all the way, right? The only thing that's stopping them is Kansas City. And I can see it happening. I want the Ravens to win. I'm sick of hearing about Patrick Mahomes, who is currently the where am I at now? I think third or fourth best quarterback all time for me right now. And that's just because I'm heading on to a shred of dignity for Peyton Manning and Joe Montana. You know, this guy is going down the second best quarterback of all time. And I never thought we could see anybody challenge for the throne. But if anybody can do it, it's Patrick Mahomes, as long as Andy Reid decides to still be eating cheeseburgers on his sidelines.
Listen, Mazz, if the question is football, the answer is Patrick Mahomes, and it really is nothing else to say about it. After, like you said, after what we saw last season of him once again winning a championship with that wide receiver core that he had, you can't sleep on them. You just can't. You can never premeditate a down year for them because even their down years, like you said, is still a Super Bowl season. It's just ridiculous, and like you said, not fair. I mean. If there was any franchises that this was going to happen to, this whole dynasty, it's the Chiefs. People forget, they were in a very similar spot as the Jets before the Patrick Mahomes era. Won one Super Bowl, and they won Super Bowl IV, and then 50 years of irrelevance until they landed Mahomes. I'm just hoping the Jets can break that curse one of these years and finally get a little dynasty of their own going. But yeah, the Chiefs.
You know who you could thank for that?
Who got to thank for that?
Matt Nagy.
Elaborate.
He was the scout for the Chiefs that was like, Patrick Mahomes is going to be the next guy. Everybody was like, well, who is this guy? Matt Nagy, right, said that he was going to be the guy back when he was scouting for the Chiefs before he got the head coaching job with the Bears, right? And then obviously we know how that turned out. But Matt Nagy was on the Patrick Mahomes train before anybody. And he was right. It's probably the only thing that Matt Nagy's ever been right about in his life.
Well, he was
he
was the offensive coordinator last year when they won.
Yeah. Why do you think they brought him back? Because, hey, buddy, you got us the jackpot. It's like Tom Brady, nothing else under. And this guy, arguably, if you want to talk about talent, he's more talented. You know, like Brady just always made the right decision. Probably a better football brain, because I don't think there's a better brain than Tom Brady. The only one that rivaled it was Peyton Manning. But we're talking about talent. They said that, Marino was the most talented quarterback. Then it was Rodgers. This kid's head and shoulders above both of them, with all due respect. He's ridiculous. It does not make sense. Aaron Rodgers popularized throwing on the run with deep ball accuracy. This kid's throwing no-look passes and hitting the same damn distance. It's ridiculous. I don't get it. Where did it come from? What is he doing? What does his off day look like? It just does not make sense. But you know what? Until somebody dethrones it, I'm not going to be hating against it. I don't think he's going to reach Tom Brady. I will state that. However, I will not fall out of my chair if he does, because he's that good. And it does not matter what's around him, clearly. You give him an offensive line, you give him a running back that's willing to run through the wall, not even has to be the most talented guy in the NFL, just willing to run through a wall like Pacheco is. Give him a tight end safety blanket, and he's rocking. The wide receivers don't even matter. Whatever the defense is doing, just be competent. You don't got to be nearly the best defense in the NFL. Just give me time, and I will win.
Which is exactly what they did last year and the year before that and the year before
And
that.
they got better.
And they will probably do it again this year. But
Yeah.
that's going to do it for the AFC for us. Finally got through all 16 teams there. So now let's flip it over to the National Football Conference. And we'll start where we started with the AFC. We'll start in the East.
Oh, the national disappointment. Let's get after it. Sure, why not? Oh, wait, I'm sorry. The Eagles are in that division. They're going to win. That's my take. They've done everything that the Cowboys said that they were going to go do. The Eagles did. That's what I think Jason Kelce actually is upset that he didn't wait to see what was going to happen with the damn roster. However, freeing up his money is probably why they're able to make some of these moves. But they have retooled. They should be the number one favorites. You can't count out Dallas, but as of right now, you got to look at Philly and be like, yeah, that is the squad. In the entire NFC, the 49ers are the number one. The Eagles are probably number two, if I'm being honest, with how they're looking right now. I mean, bringing in Saquon Barkley, somebody who has made magic out of nothing. Nothing of an organization, nothing of an offensive line, nothing. I'll give scheming a little bit because Dable is a good offensive mind, right? Just working with nothing at quarterback, nothing at receiver. Even the star tight end didn't even want to be there right after, So now going into a team that was already good at running the ball, right? Still have some guys that are, cornerstones. I think Lane Johnson's still there, right? It's just going to go up from here. They're going to come back to competing. This is going to be nothing like last year. They're probably going to lose 2, maybe 3 games the entire season, and then they're going to hit the playoffs. And as long as they get past the 49ers, that's going to be the only challenge.
Really? You're that high on Philly?
Yeah, who else? Yeah, I'm telling you right now, I don't think Detroit. I think Detroit's going to be good, but I think Philly just has more working with it. I think the 49ers are still going to win and end up in the Super Bowl. I think the only person that's going to give them a legitimate challenge. Yes, I know Green Bay took them into deep waters, right? But we're talking about like how they're constructed right now, not just some magic one-off happening, just in terms of consistency, in terms of how it's built. They've got better coordinators this year. They are still rocking with Sirianni, who got them to a Super Bowl, right? They still have their main players coming back with it. I would not be surprised if Philly has a tremendous year. And that's how you know that I'm being unbiased, because there's a Dallas star on the back of this hat. And I hate it. I don't want this to happen.
I disagree with you.
Please.
I mean, Philly is a good team. They have a really solid roster. Coaching staff, I'm not so sure about. Sirianni has always been kind of iffy for me. I know they had that fantastic season 2 years ago where they were the 1 seed in the NFC and, steamrolled their way to the Super Bowl en route to a loss to the Chiefs. But they were one of the best teams in football that year. Last year, they started off undefeated for the first 7 or 8 games before they lost to the Jets and Zach Wilson.
Yep.
So they wipe the coaching staff clean. They fire the coordinators on offense and defense, and they bring in Kellen Moore and I believe it's Vic Fangio is coaching on the defense. I have zero faith in Kellen Moore. After what happened last year with the Chargers and Justin Herbert, zero faith. He had everything to work with last year. Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Austin Eckler, offensive line here and there. Okay, sure, it was banged up. But you're telling me they couldn't even make the playoffs? I mean, Herbert got hurt and they were eventually circling the toilet drain, but they weren't even a contender when Herbert went down. They were just one of those middling AFC teams. I really don't think the Eagles, I mean, Saquon Barkley is a massive addition. Bryce Huff is a great pass rusher. I have Dallas and Philadelphia both at 11-6.
No, I like this. Keep talking to me like this.
Yeah, I really don't think the gap is that large. And when it comes to Dallas, I know how upset you are with the whole Dak CD conversation where no one has gotten extended. Everyone's entering a contract year. Say what you want, but sometimes that lights a fire under guys' asses. And they're playing pissed off, they're playing hungry, and they're playing for that next contract. And I think if you push the right buttons and you don't take it too far, where Jerry maybe has taken it a little too far, saying we're in no rush to get a deal done and pissing CD off, your best offensive player. But I think Dallas is primed for at least another year as good as they were last year, at the bare minimum, because there's just too much talent on that roster for it to not go down. I know they didn't do anything to add players and pieces, brought back Zeke, woohoo, whoop-de-doo.
We got worse in the run game.
I think Dallas and Philly will be right there neck and neck the whole rest of the way, the entire season.
I want to believe you. I still think Dallas is going to have a good year. I think they're going to win at minimum 11 games. Like you said, I just really think that Philly is going to be coming at it. This might be me just kind of hoping that I'm completely wrong, just throwing it out there, and the universe just spits it right back in my face, and that Dallas really does it. I'll be happy, obviously, but dude, worst running game. The running back by committee. I mean, this is a committee of people who, the guys that you wanted to elect decided to go other places. This is the scraps, the bare minimum. I mean, good Lord, what are we doing? Dak, I will always have faith in. However, that man sounds frustrated. That man sounds like, I am so over this organization, this ownership, this fan base, and I am afraid that he's just like, dude, I'm just going to just do what I can, and then I'm out of here. Tennessee, give me a call. Denver, give me a call. Somebody that needs a quarterback. Las Vegas, you want to pay me? I'm there. Let's get it. I don't know. But same thing with CD, Anybody that's, who's looking for a wide receiver? Hey, the Chiefs, how you doing, baby? What's good? I'll cry. I'll have a heart attack, right? But I want you to be right. However, we are in clear contention that the number 1 and number 2 will be some form of Dallas, Philly, Philly, Dallas, right? Giants have absolutely nothing working for me. Yes, they added Neighbors. They're not going anywhere. They're still the worst for me. And I think Washington is in that Tennessee, that Denver, that Charger situation. However, they have the best pieces for me for hitting that rebuild compared to the other ones.
Yeah,
not the best quarterback, but the best overall situation.
Yeah, I think they got a good situation for any rookie to come into. Jaden Daniels is going to have some weapons to throw to. Jahan Dotson, Terry McLaurin, De'Ami Brown. You got a two-headed backfield of Austin Eckler and Brian Robinson. And the offensive line was pretty bad last year, but I think they made some additions that are going to shore some things up. Defensively, I think Dan Quinn is going to immediately add a jolt to that defense because he's just a phenomenal defensive mind.
Unless they're playing Green Bay in the playoffs.
Unless they're playing Green Bay in the playoffs. Exactly. But I got the Commanders coming in 3rd at 7-10 and the Giants in 4th at 6-11.
Yeah, you can drop a game for me with the Giants. Maybe even add a game to Washington.
I could drop Commanders to 6-11 and the Giants to 5-12, and it would probably end up the same. It's just those two teams will not be contending for a playoff spot this year, let alone a division title.
You know what I am here for, though?
Huh.
I hate to be a hater and be like the call of a downfall guy, but I think we're finally going to see a new quarterback next year in New York, and I've been calling for that for years. Nobody wanted to believe me each year. Shout out my Giant buddies, Billy. Let's give him another year. Let's see what he's got. Dude, stop it. When are you finally going to hit the eject button?
See, what if they hit that eject button right into a certain free agent quarterback that is entering the last year of his contract in division?
The hell up.
Moving onwards. Going to the West, to the NFC North. A very talented division. We have the Lions, Packers, Bears, and Vikings, and I think there's a very very clear-cut line as to where the contenders are in this division and the pretenders. So I got the Lions winning the division at 11-6, Packers snagging the last wild card spot in the NFC at 10-7, and the Bears and Vikings out of the playoffs. Bears at 7-10, Vikings at 4-13.
7-10, 4-13. Oof. I like it. I think you're right. I think you're right on the money with this one. I think everybody is drinking that's not with it is drinking the purple Kool-Aid and just falling in love with the capabilities of Justin Jefferson. But all the other teams in this division have gotten better while they have not. I just saw I believe a meniscus tear for McCarthy.
Yeah, he's going to be out for at least the first few weeks of the season, so it's going to be the Sam Darnold show to start things out.
So, and listen, hopefully Sam Darnold can resurrect his career a la Baker Mayfield-esque, but I don't see that happening. You know, Justin Jefferson's definitely going to make him better than what he is, so that's always a positive. But what else are they working with? Sorry, they brought in Aaron Jones, right, at running
Yeah,
back.
he's going to be their
So
new running back.
that should be an improvement, and
Got Jordan Addison across the field from the other side of Justin Jefferson.
yeah,
Another
but
talented receiver, but other than that, yeah,
Chicago's got not better receivers, but the better receiving core.
for sure. And that's why I have him winning a 7 games there. I just think there's so much offensively for them to work with, especially for Caleb Williams coming into his first year in the NFL.
Yep.
Defensively, they were good last year, and they added pieces there as well.
Mhm.
I don't see them making a push for the playoffs just because Caleb Williams is going to take some lumps as a rookie. But
Yep.
I think a solid 7-10 is a great starting point for a quarterback like Williams being the first overall pick.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely on the money. And then looking up with it, Green Bay, I mean, Romeo Dobbs is emerging as wide receiver one. Called that, thank you. Keeping forward with it though, and even the other guys, like what is it, Christian Watkins, and I always forget the third guy's name.
Jaden Reed.
Thank you. I knew it was Reed, was not getting the first name at all. But with them, it's they still have potential too. Like Dobbs is floating to the top. It's not like those guys haven't done work. I mean, it was wide receiver one by committee last year, right? And you have a nice young quarterback who we've already been through this story, right? It is panning out for them. He's already looked good in the playoffs. I think he's primed to really take a shot at Detroit within the next year or two, either this year or next year. And that's just solely off of how he plays. However, Detroit does have the better, I believe, head coach, the better situation in terms of roster. I don't want to say the better quarterback. Jared Goff is good, but I really like Jordan Love a lot. So we'll see with that. I would love to see them swapped how they would look with situations, But with Amon-Ra St. Brown, that defense, yeah, Detroit's definitely better. They're definitely the prime number one. However, don't be surprised if Green Bay gives them a run for their money.
110%. I was just about to say that once you finished up. And also, are you sure you would take Dan Campbell over Matt LaFleur?
I just once again, Dan Campbell gets guys to run through the wall and through the next wall and the wall that they don't even see coming. So yeah, I think Matt LaFleur is probably the better football mind, but like there's right. I think college football 25 has broken it up into your scheme gurus, your motivators, right, and then your recruiters type thing, right. So I think when it comes to motivating and recruiting, Dan Campbell through the roof. All right. Guys want to play for Dan Campbell. I don't know if guys necessarily want to play LaFleur. I think they just like playing for LaFleur. When it's there, he gets the best out of them, right? But guys want to play for Dan Campbell, right? If you're a young dog, you're hungry, you want to compete, and you want to walk into an environment where every day we are just getting after it, that's the environment. I think for me as a player, that's the environment that I would want to be in more so than the other one.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you there. I think they definitely both have their strengths. I just think the gap is a lot closer than people may seem to think it is. The Lions, I don't think they're a fantastic team. They got a great roster, great coaching staff, as we just mentioned. I don't think they made any groundbreaking moves to like say that they made some landmark addition that's going to put them over the hump this year. I think
they didn't lose anybody.
They didn't lose anybody. That's what I'm saying. So I think they're going to be like the same team as they were last year, just with a little bit less of that mystique and aura that they had. That this was the first, competent Lions season in 30 years.
I do think that I know that you're saying that they're losing mystique and aura, but let me push back. I actually think that the guys are going to go even more all in because we saw it work last year.
Sure.
We're all staying together. We have another year of improvement. That chemistry has more time to flourish and grow. Right. So I actually think, yeah, is it going to be a similar season? Yeah, but I think they're going to come back hungrier because they got a taste of success. A lot of them for the first time in their careers.
I can't push back on you too hard there because we have to wait and see. But yeah, I think we can both agree that we would not be surprised if the Packers could somehow pull out the division from the Lions. I think it's in the realm of possibility.
Yep.
All right, headed to another division that over the years has been looked upon as mediocre, but has produced some pretty fun and also a Super Bowl team within the last 4 years. The NFC South, a lot of change, and I mean, for a couple teams, most of them retreads. The
I was
Atlanta,
gonna say, dude, are you all right there?
yeah,
It's
no,
just-
I honestly I don't really know where I was going with that.
I was about to call 911, dude. I was like, good God.
Almost had a stroke there, but you know what? We're gonna forget about that. I got the Falcons at the top of the division with their new coaching staff, new quarterback, and Kirk Cousins at 10-7.
Okay.
I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 8-9, missing the playoffs.
Come on.
The Saints at 7-10, and the Carolina Panthers at 4-13.
You know what? I'm gonna do this right now. Give me Tampa Bay, baby. Give me You know why? Because I was right. Baker Mayfield, my friend. All right, this kid was the best quarterback in the division last year. I don't want to hear about Derek Carr. I don't want to hear about nothing else. Bryce Young, get out of here, right? Granted, he might not be the best quarterback in the division right now, but he, unlike Kirk Cousins, has a year with his team. Mike Evans proved to us once again that he really does this. All right, so granted, things are a little different. Atlanta has a lot of pieces, but they're young. The quarterback hasn't played with them yet. Tampa Bay has that chemistry with that 1 year underneath them. And Baker Mayfield proved once again, you can slide me in that 15-11 range, baby, because I can play football when they actually believe in me as an organization. All right. I absolutely love Tampa Bay to win this division because everybody is drinking the Falcon juice. Right. And I like Atlanta. They're actually one of my favorite franchises as a kid. I was a big Mike Vick fan. Right. But I don't know what it is, man. I think it's going to be a Tampa year. Atlanta is going to have some bright spots, but man, I just think that they're in different positions where it's, young talent for a bulk of it and veteran QB that has not played with them. I think it's going to be a little clunky at the start. I have more faith in Tampa Bay to get going cruising. Call me crazy.
I mean, you're not crazy. I like Tampa Bay's roster. Todd Bowles, man, as a Jets fan who had him as my head coach for 4 years, I just have no faith in him to follow up an overachieving season with a proper expectation season. I've been through this before, trust me. And he will let you down. I like Baker. I like Mike Evans. I like Godwin. The offensive line is good. The defense has pieces all over it. It just, something about it all just smells mediocre to me. And I think it's the coaching staff.
Well, I think that's just the division. Like, nobody's saying that Tampa's winning a Super Bowl. Nobody's saying that Atlanta's winning a Super Bowl. Like, the best that these teams got going for it is that they hopefully, maybe one of them gets past the first round. Maybe even not. They have to get the playoff spot, let's be honest. So I'm not doubting you and not believing in any of them because nobody should believe in any of them. This is fraud city when it comes to competing. I mean, even the AFC South, Houston might mess around and make a legit run, right? Like you saw Detroit did last year in the other side, right? However, they're going nowhere, right? So whoever you have winning the division, it doesn't even matter. But I'm telling you, give me Tampa for the division. That's where my money's at right now.
I think you could make a case that Atlanta could win a playoff game or two, potentially. I mean, I really am excited about what that offense is going to look like because, I mean, the only real question mark or two question marks, like you said, is it going to be the first time all these guys are playing together? So there's going to be an acclimation period. And my biggest question is how's Kirk going to look coming off that Achilles injury? Because you have Aaron Rodgers and Kirk Cousins, two quarterbacks who tore their Achilles last year. Rodgers's, thank goodness, was not his non-plant foot, which is very important for a quarterback. Kirk Cousins' Achilles tear was on the leg where he plants and throws the football.
Sure.
I'm a little concerned about that, seeing how he's going to get some of that strength back. We'll see. There's going to be the whole Michael Penix situation they're going to be juggling.
And Michael Penix, too, let's not forget, who I think should have been the Heisman last year just because he was the only one left in the damn playoffs. He won more important games, right? He has a horrible injury history. So even if your top guy goes down, you got to be worrying about him too, with all due respect, you know. But here's also my thing, right? We saw Kirk Cousins put up monster numbers before he goes down. Why did he do that though? He had the number one wide receiver in the entire league. Drake London is not top 10, my friend, right? Kyle Pitts, we've been waiting to be the guy. I don't know if it's going to happen. This is the year if it does, right? I'm sold on Bijan, absolutely a top 10 running back in the game. So that's going to be nice to see and take some pressure off. But still, I mean, you can't sit there and tell me that you are sold on Atlanta's defense so much more than Tampa's, even if you think they're the better roster.
They had a really good defense last year. The problem was the offense could never get it going. It was very similar to a Jets type situation where the defense stands on its head for a half with no support from the offense, where they're going 3 and out every drive. Yep. And the second half rolls around and the defense just gets tired. I think this team is going to be a little better than you're giving them credit for. I'm really excited to see what Raheem Morris does in his second stint as a head coach. And yep. I think the only reason why you don't see Kyle Pitts as an elite tight end, and I'm not saying Drake London's top 10, but he's definitely a good wide receiver one. Yep. I think you can blame that all on Arthur Smith and the head coach that the Falcons had the last few years. I really think that the Falcons have a chance here to kick it up to another level, and that's why I have them winning the division.
Yeah, it's also possible too, man, where it's like this is new quarterback, new weapons. Still got to get acclimated, man. I think especially like these are guys in different stages of life. You know, like Kirk Cousins is how many years do you think Kirk Cousins got left in the league?
He's 35 right now.
Starter.
As a starter, he's 35 right now. I would say maybe 2 or 3.
Sure, I'm at the exact same. These guys are in their second and third years, all their best guys, you know? How do you relate to that? You know, how do you build chemistry with that? Right? It's not going to be off the field, that's for sure. I don't know.
We'll see. But as for the Saints and Panthers, that is the definition of mediocre right there. The Saints are long overdue for a rebuild. New Orleans, please, pull the plug. Cut everybody, trade everybody, strip it down to the studs and start over. And please fire Dennis Allen. It is like he is the current modern day Jeff Fisher of the NFL. Every year they go into the season saying, oh, this is it. This is the last ride with Cam Jordan and Marshawn Lattimore and the offensive lineman, his name is slipping me at the moment. But Ryan Ramczyk, all these guys, Alvin Kamara, have been on the Saints for so many years. It's time to start over. It hasn't worked in so long. Please strip it down to the studs and start over. Please. The Saints are such a beautiful, aesthetic football team, and I am tired of their colors being mediocre. When I was growing up watching football, the Saints were so cool. Those black and gold uniforms were so sick. I remember their Super Bowl win. And ever since the NFC Championship game where they were robbed because of those officiating and that pass interference non-call on Roby Coleman, it just has not been the same since. And it's time to start over. Please, I'm begging you. Please.
I think who dat literally took a brand new meaning of who dat you putting on the field right now. Who the hell is this? We have no clue what this is.
Like how many times are they going to try it before it's just not gonna? Like Derek Carr was your salvation, your saving grace? Are you kidding me?
Yeah. No, I'm not a Derek Carr guy, right? But
who is?
Matt Boucher. Shout out Matt.
I'll give him that.
You know, but I mean, Derek Carr, and I don't even think Michael Thomas is there anymore, right? Chuggy.
Michael Thomas is not there anymore, and actually he's currently a free agent, so he's unsigned.
Dallas, let's do this. If he goes down, what's the worst that happened? I mean, no, but legitimately, the Saints ain't going nowhere, buddy. They need to strip it down. Who's it going to be? Spencer Rattler? That's the saving grace.
I guess.
No,
I mean,
no. It's just no. It's time to pull that plug, right? Put the TNT in the building, blow the whole thing up, and build it back up again, right? I like the Saints. like the Saints less after doing a recent history project, which we'll get into down the line. You know all about that, buddy. But nonetheless, besides their conspiracy of how they became a franchise, they are the coolest color scheme. Black and gold just always works for me, right? I love the homage to the city, right, with the Fleur de Lis, however you say it. I definitely just butchered that.
I did not know what the actual name was, so I'm gonna
I think
go.
it's like
I'm gonna go with you said it
Fleur de
right.
Lis. I don't know if I did. I took a shot at it, and for anybody out there in New Orleans, I truly apologize, but your team's going nowhere, and this is it. And for Carolina, they're in the right direction. I said it.
Really?
It's gonna be years, but like, dude, they got their halfback. I wanted Jonathan Brooks in the worst way possible.
He's missing the first month of the season, right?
That's all right. I still wanted it because it's gonna be better than anything that happened with the Cowboys bringing in, right? I still wanted them. I think they're gonna be they. Where else could you go? You have to be in the right direction if you're the Panthers. You blew it up. We don't know what it's gonna be. It's still gonna be bad. It's not gonna be better than the Saints this year, but like it has to be better than what it was last year. Is all I do know. Because you've already blown it up so many damn times and it's not like they chose a horrible quarterback. Like I'm not sold on SEC guys for the most part. Most of the time, I should say guys that are playing at like, the colleges. If you're from like Florida or like Mississippi State, like yeah, LSU maybe even. If you're not playing with like elite guys everywhere else, because Bama at that time, and still I feel like are just always playing with just better guys at every other position than the competition that they're facing. That's why I'm not sold on SEC quarterbacks from Bama. But it is what it is. Something has to go well for the Panthers. What else could you do? You've blown it up more times than blowing it up as possible. I think just like the Raiders, they just need some damn consistency, my friend. There's no standard. Right? We know that keep pounding is a big part of it. Shout out Sam Mills and Montclair State, right? But like, who's living up to that? Who's setting that standard? Who's coming in and week out, day in and day out to compete? I don't get that from them. I couldn't even tell you who the damn head coach is right now. I couldn't tell you who the head coach has been for quite some time because they're not leaving any marks. It's literally ship them out. Deuces. We have no time for this. What are we doing here?
So the head coach of the Panthers is Dave Canales. Hope I'm saying that right. He was the OC for the Buccaneers last year, so he got credited for Baker's resurgence and now gets the job to try and resurge Bryce Young, who had one of the worst rookie years of any first overall pick in history.
To be fair, though, what did he have? There was nobody working. Adam Thielen?
He had nothing, but it still was very concerning to see what your first overall pick looked like. Even with nothing, he still just did not live up to the expectations. And if anything, what's the word I'm looking for? He played into the concerns by missing games and getting injured due to his size. But I think when you look at the Carolina Panthers, I think the trade they made when they traded up for that first overall pick with Chicago, it set their franchise back at least 3 or 4 years. I think they're going to be trying to dig their way out of this thing for a long time. And something else, I don't even think Bryce Young's the answer. I think after this season, they're going to have some legitimate conversations about, hey, do we need to cut ties with this guy? Dave Canales' coaching skills remain to be seen. We'll see how that goes. Maybe he is able to perform some magic there. They did make some additions to the offensive line. Like you said, Mazz, they got a Texas running back, which is never a bad idea. For me, when you trade DJ Moore, Darnell Wright, and Caleb Williams for Bryce Young, you're going to have some issues for the next few years.
No, I'm definitely with you. But like, as we said, they've stripped it down and it has to only be up from here. I did not know that they picked up Tampa's OC, and I'm actually here for that. That could be the guy. He worked magic last year in Tampa. Granted, I think there was already some good pieces that like were already there to work with, but if there's somebody that's going to get a shot, somebody where it's like, let's be honest, any head coach didn't want that job because they knew damn well that all the pressure was going to be on them. Why we're not seeing results faster. If they just stay the course and give time for development, Bryce Young could be the guy. Canales could be the head coach. Brooks could be the halfback. This could be the team in 5 to 6 years where you're like, oh my God, we got something here. Am I completely faithful in that? No. However, you cannot just keep on tearing it down at the first sight of, oh my God, we're bad. Because you've been bad, you're going to be bad. You've been bad since Cam Newton left.
Yeah.
And then you shipped out CMC too.
No good. No good. Shipped out Brian Burns as well to the Giants. Who's rushing the passer for you? It's just, it's not going to be a fun season in the Carolinas.
So like even with like, you know, giving up what they did to get that number 1 overall pick, did they get enough back for those two guys? I don't think so.
No, they got a bunch of day 2 and day 3 picks for CMC, and I think maybe 1 first-round pick, and then like a second for Brian Burns, and it's just.
Be more competent, you bums.
Correct. So let's not waste any more time talking about that crap division down in the NFC South, and let's go to the cream of the crop, the NFC West, featuring the Niners and the Rams, 2 teams who have been contending for a long time in recent memory in the NFL.
You think that's the cream of the crop?
For me, I have all 4 of these teams getting at least 7 wins. I have the Niners at the top of the division at 13-4. I have the Rams at 11-6.
Who are they losing 4 games to?
I mean, I could tell you specifically. I think they're gonna split with the Rams and the Seahawks, and they lose to the Packers and Bills in Green Bay and in Buffalo.
I'm fine with the Packers and Bills losses due to weather because that's later in the season, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, fine with that. Stop giving Seattle so much credit. Just stop it. They're not beating them. They're not splitting nothing with them.
Okay. Seahawks and Cardinals both at 7-10. Now, let me defend the Seahawks and the Cardinals real quick. The Seahawks have been very scrappy, very they've been trying as hard as they could ever since Russ left. But they're finally entering a new era. Pete Carroll, first year since 2009, he's not going to be the head coach in Seattle. Geno Smith kind of getting to the end of his rope here. He's already dealing with some injuries in training camp. He hasn't really played much. I think they're finally heading down towards that rebuilding period or reloading period because they still have a good roster. Still have a great receiving room. They just don't have that guy of the future yet where
they don't have chemistry neither, buddy.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. We can get to the quarterback of the future. I'm sorry to cut you off. DK Metcalf just literally ripped off a helmet and swung on a guy in practice. Okay, so even like your top guy, quite literally, is causing headaches.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I think Seattle's taking a step back because they were a 9-win team the last 2 years. I got them at 7-10. They're going to be middling, and this will probably be the last year for guys like Geno and Tyler Lockett and some of the older veterans on the roster as Mike McDonald kind of imprints his own DNA into this roster. As for the Cardinals, I'm a lot higher on Kyler Murray and Jonathan. I think his name's Jonathan Gannon. Josh Gannon? Head coach Gannon of the Cardinals. I think I think they showed a lot of grit last year playing. Everyone assumed they were going to be 0-17 and going to be in the Caleb Williams conversation, but they were able to somehow find a way to beat the superpower Cowboys earlier in the season.
Thanks for reminding me, guy.
Kyler Murray came in halfway through the year coming off that ACL tear, and he played some good, solid football. He looked like his old self. I think adding Marvin Harrison, another year under the Gannon regime and roster building, I think the Cardinals are set up to have a scrappy 7-10 season where they're competing just about every other week.
Painting a picture for me. I don't hate it. I got them closer to like 4 or 5 again, to be honest. But it is Jonathan Gannon. You were right with that. Kudos to you. Wasn't getting that one. I don't know, man. Everybody keeps on telling me Kyler Murray this, Kyler Murray that. I think Kyler Murray has not lived up to any of the hype or expectation. I think there's flashes, but like, again, what has he done? He's got Marvin Harrison this year, but again, his best thing working with is a rookie. Let's see how it works out. I think Marvin Harrison's going to be phenomenal because that kid has all the tools, right? However, again, when you talk about tools, you talk about a bear cupboard. Well, it is a bear in the desert for me because there's nothing that I'm looking where it's like this is a game changer type of thing, right? I still think that they're going to be mediocre, right? The draft can only do so much for you when you're at the level that they've been at, you know? This ain't the year. And I think Seattle's in a much better position, even though Seattle, as you said, I'm with you, taking a step back. I don't know how you have them split a game with the 49ers. I know you just getting that in division rivalry, guys come out and play just a little bit harder. I'm sure that's where the thought process was, buddy. But uh no, there's a clear cut. As you said, when we hit the NFC North, there's a clear cut. There's absolutely a clear cut. And these guys, I think you gave too much wins to either side for what they're going to do this year.
Okay. I mean, understandably so. And both teams aren't really expected to be doing anything special, but I just think 7-10 is a fair spot for the both of them. But as for the two playoff teams, the Rams at 11-6, they're definitely not going to be as good as they were last year defensively. Losing Aaron Donald is going to be a massive deal for them. I mean, who else do they have defensively besides him? I probably couldn't even tell you anybody right now besides maybe a corner or two. But offensively, still elite. Matt Stafford and Cooper Kupp getting to the end of the rope, but still have some good years left in them. Puka Nacua, one of the best wide receiver twos in football. And the running back duo of, I believe it's Blake Corum is the running back from Michigan. And who was the guy who was fantastic last year for them? Kyron Williams, I think his name is, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So I think the Rams offensively are going to be great. Got some question marks on defense, but I think it'll still be enough for them to make the playoffs this year.
I never thought that I would say this where I could honestly be talked into Cooper Kupp being wide receiver 2 just because of how good Nacua was. I mean, good God, they have something in that kid that they've hit right on the head with. And I'm pretty sure did Matt Stafford just get a deal with him?
Yeah, he got a little bit of a raise.
Yeah, so he's going to be happy and getting after it. And he's already been known for a guy where I can battle through adversity, battle through injury, and I just want to go out there and play football, you know? But I just think that the 49ers have just still, even with what will be the loss of Ayuk, is just still too overpowering.
Still. Yeah, the Niners are still elite. I mean, they didn't lose much besides maybe Brandon Ayuk. We'll see about that. That remains to be seen. And then defensively, they lost, I believe it was, who was the D tackle that went to Jacksonville? Eric Armstead? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, Eric Armstead departed. But other than that, San Fran's going to San Fran. Kyle Shanahan's going to Kyle Shanahan. Brock Purdy's going to Brock Purdy. Christian McCaffrey's going to Christian McCaffrey. San Fran, I have as the number 1 seed in the NFC, and they can do it sleepwalking.
Yep. Again, I think I have them losing in the Super Bowl.
Well, Mazz, that's everything in terms of each division, each team. Do you want me to take you through the seedings I have?
Yes.
Okay. So starting in the AFC, I have the Chiefs as the number 1 seed with both of them and Baltimore at 13-4. The strength of schedule sides with the Chiefs. I have the Jets at the 3 seed at 12-5 and the Texans at 10-7 as the 4 home playoff games. Mm-hmm. And then I have the Bengals, Bills, and Browns as the 3 wildcard teams, with the Dolphins missing the cut due to strength of schedule.
That is interesting. The only thing that I have a problem with, I think Baltimore is going to end up the number 1 seed. Okay. I think we're going to see a little bit of a Super Bowl hangover to start the season with the Chiefs because that's just what I've come to expect from them. But they're still going to be right there within the 2 to 3 seed range. I think I have Miami over Buffalo. I want to be wrong with that. I want my father to be happy. I really do. But other than that, buddy, I have no problem with what you've laid out.
I'm glad to hear because I love it too. Going over to the NFC, as I said, San Francisco, number 1 seed at 13-4. And then I have the Detroit Lions as the 2nd seed at 11-6. The Dallas Cowboys as the 3rd seed at 11-6. The Atlanta Falcons is the 4th seed at 10-7. Those are the 4 home playoff games. And then the Rams, Eagles, and Packers as the 3 wildcard teams.
I'm going to look like such a pancake come after week 1 and I see Dak and I get back on it. We're taking the division, baby. But right now, this offseason has just left me so depleted as a fan. I just have no faith. I want you to be right so bad. But swap Dallas and Philly for me. And again, I think I'm sorry, and swap Tampa
And
in there
Atlanta.
instead of Atlanta. We're pretty much right in the same range, buddy.
Feel you on that. I mean, I don't know. All right, so how about you want to just skip the playoffs and we'll just do our Super Bowl?
Yeah.
All right, you go first.
I've made no qualms about it. I think this is the year for the Ravens. You can never count out the Chiefs, but I think that the additions that they've made is going to make such an impact. While still staying together, I think they have the better defense than the Chiefs. I think that Lamar Jackson has proven to be a top four quarterback in the NFL. I still like Dak over him, but that's just me personally. Whatever, what have you. He is a game changer when it comes to the game of football, right? Not even talk about quarterback skill, just being out there on the field. He absolutely flips the script every single time. And added in Derrick Henry with that defense, with that run game that's already there, I think they are primed, hungry, and getting after it. They come out of the AFC for me. The 49ers, until proven otherwise, will continue to come out of the NFC right now with that roster. They will again fall short to whatever the AFC is producing. Okay. So, yes, I have the Baltimore Ravens taking down the San Francisco 49ers in next year's Super Bowl.
So we got the same NFC team. I got the Niners coming out as well, but I do want to let you know I do have the Cowboys advancing to the NFC Championship game and losing to the Niners there.
Oh, thanks, buddy. Thanks a
Now,
lot.
on the other hand, I have in the AFC Championship game the Jets and the Chiefs, and I got the Jets. And let me tell you why. So I really think that when it comes to football and maybe just about every major sport, there is such a thing as championship fatigue. I think when you saw it with the Golden State Warriors when they were on their dynasty run, when you're playing the full extended season, 3, 4, 5 years in a row, your body's going to break down. You saw it with KD. You saw it with Klay Thompson. And I think the Chiefs are finally going to hit that wall this year. They're going to make a deep playoff run. They're going to host the AFC Championship game. But I just think it's time. It's law of averages. It's time for another team to advance. We haven't seen another team besides the Chiefs in the AFC since Cincinnati in 2021. So I got the Jets advancing past the Chiefs. I think their team is built to make a run to the Super Bowl this year. The defense is ready. The offense, as long as Aaron Rodgers is healthy and he's able to competently operate that offense, it's going to do wonders for this Jets team. The defense is going to be, in my opinion, top 2 and maybe not even 2. I really think they have a chance to do something special here, especially if Hassan Reddick comes back into the fold, especially if they're able to make a splash at the deadline, like trading for a Devontae Adams that has been rumored for the last year and a half. Call me crazy, Mazz. I got the Jets winning the Super Bowl this year.
I don't even hate it, honestly.
Because
right?
it's feasible. It's feasible.
Yeah, it's not for like last year when you were talking about it. It wasn't it, dog.
So real quick before you continue, last year we were together preseason and us talking about it. Mm-hmm. My expectation was Super Bowl, but I wasn't like oh, we're winning the Super Bowl. I was saying
this year you were.
So last year I was like, I just need to see them. I just need to see them do it. I just need to see them, and obviously what happened. But this year, with the roster changes that they made, I think this team, as currently constructed, has what it takes to make it there.
I don't hate the take, right? I think the Super Bowl winner is coming out of the AFC, right? You guys are third for me, and I wouldn't be surprised if you pull it off. You know, you also got to throw the Texans in there a little bit too, give them some love. However, when you talk about battle-tested, Aaron Rodgers. When you talk about roster construction, going all in, the Jets have to be up there in terms of the names, right? In terms of best rosters in the NFL, they got to be among your top 5, right? Even the biggest Jets haters, Buffalo Bills fans, could sit there and say, Patriots fans could sit there and say, Dolphins fans could sit there and say, damn, it's going to be a biatch when we have to play them. And they have quite the roster, barring health. I cannot wait to see what this brings this season. I want you to be right on Dallas so bad, Although I hope that they take down San Fran. I hope Dak takes down whoever's coming out of AFC, right? But I just know better, and it's not Dak's fault. All right, there's a lot of problems in Dallas. He's not even one of them. Not even on the list. Never will be. Right. However, I do believe that we're gonna have to hear Anthony Cofone the entire year, and shout out JJL because we're gonna be hearing both of them until next season because Baltimore is coming, and I'm afraid.
Baltimore is scary. They are what you would call a juggernaut. They have experience, they have talent, they have just about everything you need. They even have
The coach.
the coach. They even have the sprinkles on top, which is Derrick Henry. I'm scared of him. I'm scared of Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. But I gotta believe, man. I gotta think something is gonna break right for the Jets at least one of these years, because I don't think anything has broken right since 2010. So
Can I just paint a gruesome picture for you here? Because I just would love to go into the deep thoughts of Charlito's mind for a second. Your nightmares where they lurk.
I'm scared, but go ahead.
What if this team just ends up being like the Mark Sanchez Jets, just never getting past the AFC Championship game? Will you be able to sleep at night?
I would, because I will have watched at least a playoff win or two.
Okay.
Mazz, I have not seen the Jets play a playoff game since I was in the 5th grade.
Could be worse.
I'm 24 years old.
It could be worse. It could be way worse. I see my team
No,
play.
there is
Listen,
no worse.
No, there's worse. You could watch your team play a playoff game every year, and every year underperform year in and year out.
But at least you got there. At least you had some success in the regular season.
No, because then they at least would actually revamp things if we didn't get there. But I digress.
Regardless, there it is. Mazz's Super Bowl pick, the Baltimore Ravens as the 2024 NFL champs. And for me, I'm going with my Jets. So
it's going to be an unbearable year no matter which way. The Jets win, you're unbearable. The Chiefs win, you're still unbearable. The Baltimore Ravens win, and JJL are unbearable. Just for the love of God, could anybody, win but those three teams?
I mean, this is the NFL we're talking about, and they don't say any given Sunday for no reason.
All right, you got that right. You got to claw with your fingernail for that inch. And when we add up all those inches, that's going to make the bleeping difference between winning and losing, between living and dying. Scene, thank you.
You're going to hate me. What movie is that from?
Any Given Sunday.
Never seen it.
Are you kidding me? You've never seen the Any Given Sunday speech? And you dare call yourself...
I've probably seen the speech on like YouTube or something.
Listen to me and listen to me right now. I'm not doing the podcast next week if you did not watch Any Given Sunday within the week. It's not happening. Thank you.
You have been listening to the Mazz and Bad Show with Brandon Marrazzo and Charlie Baduini.